Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the web series That's a Wrap, where I'll be sharing with you some of my favorite movies and theater-going experiences, as well as reviewing some new ones. For the first episode, I wanted to talk about some of my most cherished theater-going experiences. Whether it was the cast, the plots, the music, or the storyline, or a combination of all three, these shows that I'm going to talk about have really just touched my heart in some way and made an impression on my soul or inspired me in those times really when I needed it to make a change, to go for something that I didn't have the courage to go for, or to reevaluate my life and my relationships. The first show is Wicked. This was the first Broadway show that I had ever seen, as well as one of my first times in New York City. I had been in New York prior to seeing this show, but New York then didn't mean what it meant to me this time when I was in New York seeing my first Broadway show. I finally knew of this magical world called Broadway, and I was in New York City and going to see a show on Broadway. So I had been in New York prior, but this time it was different because I guess it meant a little bit more to me. It really, really, truly solidified my love for live performance. Just like I said, being in New York City, being in a Broadway theater, hearing that orchestra, hearing that cast, sing those words, and just experiencing it live. You know, I'm just such a firm believer. I love movies and I love theater, but the experience you have seeing a live performance versus the experience you have seeing a movie, they're both great, but they're different. They really are. And another reason why this is really just an experience that I'll cherish is because it was my first Broadway show, and I got to see it with my grandma, who at that time, she was very sick with cancer, and it just meant a lot to me that I could have this experience with her and get to experience this whole thing with her, because she did pass away several months after that. And also, for those of us who have seen the show Wicked, you know that there's a song that comes toward the end of the show called For Good, and just the lyrics in that song fully commented on what was happening in my personal life at that moment. I didn't essentially know what was going to happen, meaning I didn't know that she was going to pass away several months later, but now looking back, those lyrics for good, because I knew you, I have been changed for good. That's just perfectly how I encapsulate my relationship with my grandma, and just, why that show just means truly so much to me and will always have a special place in my heart. The next show that really inspired me was Grey Gardens. It's had two of the most honest performances I had ever seen, with Christine Ebersole and Mary Louise Wilson. It would be really easy to take their portrayals of the Beals and turn them into caricatures, especially in a musical, because, people often think as a musical they're a little more frothy than a play, but they were so honest. They kept them as real three-dimensional characters, whereas in other performers' hands, it could have easily slid into caricature. And I just love the honesty in their performances that really inspired me. One of the things I also liked about that show was the parent-child relationship. It's this mother and daughter in the play. It's not perfect, their relationship by any means, but there is a bond there, and there is a genuine sense of love, and I got that from the text and also from the actress's performances, and it just really, I think it spoke to me and my relationship with my mother, you know, because it's not perfect either, but I love her, and I know that she loves me, and to see that on stage was very, in some ways, like looking at my own relationship, like mirroring my own life, and also therapeutic in some ways. The next one that I really loved was The Color Purple. This was not the most recent one. There was just a recent revival with in like the last year or so. This was the original Broadway company in 2006, I think, is when that came out. Anyway, I got to see that show 3 times, and I sat in the front row every time. It was just so powerful for me to see the character of Celie. This is of someone who's been looked over their entire life, who's been passed over their entire life, someone who's always been told, you are not good enough, you will never be good enough, you are not worthy to be seen. And there's the final song that Celie sings is called I'm Here, where it is just her character's realization that I'm here, I'm important, I matter. These are things that I had been looking outside myself for other people to give me, but I don't need to do that anymore because I know that acceptance and love are already inside of me, so I don't need to look outside of them. It's just one of those, it's just really profound. It was one of those moments in the theater where she sings the lyrics, I'm thankful for every day that I'm given, both the easy and hard ones I'm living, but most of all, I'm thankful for loving who I really am. I'm beautiful, and I'm here. I'm important. I've survived everything that the world has tried to throw at me, but I'm here, and I matter, and no one can take that away from me because it's mine. It's inside of me, and it just, I get chills thinking of it now. I got to see that 3 times. That was really a great one. The next one is If Then. This was show several years ago. This was supposed to be, and it was Idina Menzel's big return to Broadway. She'd been gone since Wicked, and full circle moment kind of for me, since that was my first Broadway show. Anyway, she'd been gone since Wicked, and this was her big Broadway return, and it just really spoke to me about where I was at that point in my life of, if we make this decision, then this happens. If then. You know, it's about life. It's about life and the choices we make and how they affect us, and those choices and how they bring us into contact with different people and how those people affect us. But I think it's also one of the things, the way that it ends, it's also about destiny, that destiny is something that I really believe in, that if something's meant to happen, it will. Destiny will find you. Yeah. Yeah, it really, I remember after seeing that in the theater, you know, going on a lot of walks, it really inspired me to think about my own life and the people who have come into my life and really changed my life for the better, another Wicked reference, and where I wanted to go next. It helped me not, I guess, to worry as much as I did before. Yeah. Another, gives me chills just thinking about that one. Yeah, the last one is The Heiress. This is actually a play. The other ones before this have been musicals. This is a play with Jessica Chastain, and her performance, I had seen plays before this, but it was just her performance that was so strong and powerful and captivating. Just, you know, she played, at the beginning of the play, she plays this character called Catherine, who's just meek and subservient and does what she's told, and kind of like Celie almost is passed over, is not looked upon as as worthy, as desirable, but at the end of the play, she finally has this journey where she has this quiet moment of victory, I guess I would call it, where this man who has very much wronged her and took advantage of her essentially comes back to apologize, but I think you kind of know thinks he can take advantage of her again. She doesn't tell him off. There's no heated exchange. She invites him to come to her house at a specific time at night, and he comes to the house and he starts banging on the door for her to let him in, and Jessica Chastain as this character doesn't say anything. There's no shift in her demeanor. She just calmly stands up, turns out the lights, and walks up the stairs and goes to bed. It's another so powerful, the moment of quiet victory of, I'm not the person that you thought I was. I'm stronger than that, and you don't get to hurt me again. Just a very strong performance and a very strong character, and I just remember being so moved by that final moment of her just going up the stairs and turning out the lights and just not saying a word. That quiet victory of, I'm not going to give you any more time. I'm not going to waste any more time on you. I'm going to go to bed. Yeah. Okay, well, that is it. Those are my top 5 theater-going experiences. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope maybe, with this web series, it might inspire you to go out and see some of these movies that I'm going to talk about or review, or go out and read or see a production of some of these plays. All right, well, thank you for joining me for the first episode of That's a Wrap. Yeah, thank you.